One phone call can destroy a decade of work. One leaked conversation can turn a king into a pariah. And that's exactly what just happened to Young Thug. What we witnessed wasn't just drama or beef, it was surgical warfare that systematically dismantled every pillar holding up one of Atlanta's biggest rap careers. The man who once sat on the throne of hip-hop's Mecca just got checkmated in the most brutal way possible. Hey, if you're about to watch me break down the most savage career destruction in recent hip-hop history, at least hit that subscribe button first. Your boy needs the algorithm boost while Thug's algorithm is getting absolutely demolished. This isn't just another rap beef or industry gossip. This is a masterclass in strategic destruction, where leaked jail calls became weapons of mass reputation annihilation. Young Thug didn't just lose some credibility, his entire foundation got pulled out from under him, and the people responsible planned every single move like a chess grandmaster. To understand how devastating this really is, you have to understand what Young Thug represented before these leaks surfaced. Since his release in 2022, fans and even fellow artists have accused Gunna of snitching in order to avoid jail time, but the controversy has now shifted dramatically to focus on Young Thug himself. Thug wasn't just another rapper from Atlanta, he was the voice of Atlanta. When people talked about the South taking over hip-hop, when they mentioned Atlanta being the new Mecca, Young Thug's name carried that conversation. He was in discussions with Drake and Kendrick because Atlanta was everything, and if you controlled Atlanta, you controlled a massive piece of hip-hop's narrative. That credibility was built on authenticity, on being real, on representing the streets that raised him. In hip-hop, especially in Atlanta's scene, your word and your reputation aren't just important, they're everything. Street credibility isn't something you can buy or fake your way into. It's earned through respect, through being genuine, through proving you're really about what you rap about. And that's exactly what these leaked calls targeted first.
The first blow came with the interrogation footage that resurfaced, where Thug was allegedly cooperating with law enforcement. Online sleuths uncovered a 2-hour 2015 interrogation where he told cops that his friend Jimmy was involved in criminal activity. This wasn't just damaging, it was devastating. In hip-hop culture, being labeled a snitch is one of the worst things that can happen to an artist. It doesn't matter how many hits you have, how much money you make, or how talented you are. Once that label sticks, everything changes. But here's where it gets really strategic. The people behind these leaks didn't just dump everything at once like amateurs. They calculated each release for maximum impact. They understood that destroying Young Thug required more than just one revelation. It needed to be systematic, targeting every aspect of what made him powerful.
The second phase was absolutely brilliant in its cruelty. They released audio of Young Thug admitting to spending $50,000 on fake streams to secure a #1 album. Think about how insane this is. This isn't just about money or chart positions. This strikes at the heart of hip-hop authenticity. When fans stream your music, when they buy your albums, they're showing genuine support and love for your art. They're saying your music moves them, speaks to them, represents something real in their lives. But when you fake those numbers, you're basically lying about how much people actually care about your music. You're presenting a false picture of your impact and influence. And in Young Thug's case, this wasn't small-scale manipulation. We're talking about $50,000 worth of fake streams. That's serious money invested in creating a completely false narrative about his commercial success.
The leaked call revealed Thug discussing his plug for buying streams, the same connection he allegedly used to help Gunna get artificial chart success. Thug even allegedly told Baby about, or at least referenced, Quality Control's Pierre P. Thomas in another alleged audio clip. This created a web of manufactured success that made every achievement questionable. When you buy your way to #1, every future accomplishment becomes suspect. Even if Young Thug dropped the greatest album of all time tomorrow and it genuinely sold 200,000 copies first week, the conversation wouldn't be about the music's quality or its authentic impact. Instead, every comment section, every social media post, every discussion about his success would include questions about how much it cost him. How much did that number one cost you, Thug? Becomes the permanent question following every achievement. It's the same thing that happened to Drake with ghostwriting allegations. We all knew ghostwriters existed in the industry, but once Drake got specifically exposed for it, everything changed for him.
Before those ghostwriting rumors, Drake was legitimately in the conversation for greatest rapper of all time. His biggest critics couldn't articulate a solid argument against his top 5 status. But once that authenticity question mark appeared, it became the permanent asterisk next to every accomplishment. Drake could drop the most incredible album ever made, and there would still be people saying, but who really wrote it? Young Thug now faces that exact same situation with streaming numbers and chart success. Every milestone, every achievement, every commercial victory will carry the question mark of authenticity. Did he earn it, or did he buy it? And in hip-hop, where authenticity is everything, that question mark is absolutely career-destroying. But the strategic destruction didn't stop there. Phase 3 targeted his relationships with other powerful figures in the industry. And this is where things got really personal and really ugly.
Quality Control Music and its CEO, Pierre P. Thomas, represent serious power in Atlanta's hip-hop scene. Young Thug said this about Quality Control CEO Pierre P. Thomas during an alleged leaked jail call with the label's artist, Lil Baby, making snitching allegations while also accusing Pierre P. Thomas of sidelining Lil Baby on a record deal. This isn't just beef between artists. This is going after industry infrastructure, targeting the people who control resources, distribution, and opportunities. The leaked calls revealed Thug telling other artists that P was a rat and suggesting they should distance themselves from Quality Control. But here's where the strategy becomes absolutely diabolical. When you're in jail, when you're isolated and bored and frustrated, it's easy to run your mouth about things that aren't really your business. And that's exactly what these calls captured. Young Thug inserting himself into situations that had nothing to do with it.
Why does Young Thug care about Lil Baby's business relationship with the man who put him on? Even if P had some legal issues in his past, even if Thug genuinely believed those allegations, why is that his business to discuss? Lil Baby is a grown man making his own decisions about his career and his business relationships. But the leaked calls show Thug on the phone playing rat detective, calling multiple people to spread these allegations. The response from Quality Control was swift and brutal. P didn't just deny the allegations, he went full savage mode. The Quality Control CEO addressed viral audio and firmly rejected accusations tied to street politics. QCP took to social media to repost content from 6ix9ine calling Young Thug a snitch, which was basically declaring open season on Thug's reputation. When you have a powerful label executive actively working against you, when you've burned bridges with people who control significant industry resources, your career becomes exponentially more difficult. And remember, QCP just sold for $300 million. That's not just money, that's influence, connections, and power throughout the entire industry. When someone with that level of resources decides you're a problem, when they start actively working against your interests, you're in serious trouble. But here's where the hypocrisy becomes absolutely glaring, and this might be the most damaging part of everything. While Young Thug is on these phone calls telling people to stay away from P because of alleged snitching, while he's playing moral authority about who's a rat and who isn't, his own situation is completely contradictory. Mariah the scientist, who Thug is in a relationship with, has a father who's been a homicide detective with Atlanta Police Department for 30 years. Detective Buckley has spent 3 decades working law enforcement, investigating crimes, building cases against people. If Young Thug really believed that any association with law enforcement made someone untouchable, if he really thought people should distance themselves from anyone connected to police work, wouldn't he apply that same standard to his own relationship?
But of course he doesn't. He's not telling Mariah to get away from her father. He's not calling her father a rat. He's not applying his own logic to his own situation because that logic was never really about principles. It was about drama, about having something to talk about while bored in jail, about inserting himself into other people's business. The leaked calls also revealed Thug discussing confidential business information that had been shared with him in trust. There's audio of him telling Mariah details about Lil Baby's deal negotiations, about internal label politics, about private conversations that were meant to stay private. He accused P of being a snitch, something he allegedly spoke about with Baby himself and separately with Mariah the Scientist in an alleged leaked jail call.
If you're Lil Baby and you wake up hearing Young Thug sharing your private business with other people, discussing your deal points and internal affairs with his girlfriend, how do you feel about that? Trust is everything in business relationships, especially in the music industry where information is power and privacy is crucial for negotiations. Young Thug violated that trust by treating private conversations like gossip material. He was supposed to be a friend, someone Baby could confide in, someone who would keep sensitive information confidential. Instead, he was spreading that information to other people, turning private business into phone conversation entertainment. Before you think this is just about Young Thug, make sure you're subscribed because we're about to break down how this connects to an even bigger pattern of industry warfare that's changing how beefs get handled in 2024.
The systematic destruction continued with attacks on other relationships and industry connections. In one call, Thug seemingly shades Migos, saying the people are only buying your label because of Wham, Lil Baby. This wasn't just casual conversation. This was burning bridges with one of Atlanta's biggest rap groups, people who had been allies and collaborators. When you're already facing controversy, when your reputation is under attack, the smart move is to maintain your relationships and keep your mouth shut about other people's business. Instead, these calls show Young Thug actively creating new enemies, giving more people reasons to distance themselves from him, expanding the circle of industry figures who now have problems with him.
The leaked calls also revealed conversations about other artists, where Thug was making disparaging comments, sharing opinions that were never meant to be public, creating awkward situations for people who thought they were having private conversations with a friend. Young Thug has been facing tons of backlash on social media due to various leaked audio clips over the last week, including clips where he appeared to trash talk other artists. Every additional leaked call created new controversies, new damaged relationships, new reasons for industry people to view Young Thug as problematic. It became a snowball effect where each revelation made the situation worse, where every new audio clip added to the pile of evidence that he couldn't be trusted with private information. And here's the truly strategic part. Gunna and his team stayed completely silent during all of this. They didn't respond to the snitching allegations, didn't engage with the drama, didn't try to defend themselves publicly. They just kept dropping good music and let the leaked calls speak for themselves. This silence wasn't weakness. It was strategic patience, waiting for the perfect moment to let their opposition destroy themselves. While Young Thug was burning bridges and creating enemies, while he was violating trust and spreading other people's business, Gunna's team was collecting ammunition. They knew that eventually all of this would surface, and when it did, they wouldn't need to say anything because Young Thug's own words would do all the damage.
The result is that Young Thug's career is now permanently tied to this controversy. Just like Drake will always face ghostwriting questions, just like certain artists will always have asterisks next to their achievements, Young Thug will always face questions about authenticity, about loyalty, about trustworthiness. Even if he comes back and has genuine success, even if he drops incredible music that authentically connects with fans, there will always be that cloud of doubt. Did he buy those streams? Is he sharing private information? Can he be trusted? These aren't questions that fade away with time. They become permanent parts of an artist's narrative. The strategic brilliance of this takedown is that it didn't just attack Young Thug's music or his talent, it attacked the foundation of what made him powerful in hip-hop culture. Street credibility, authenticity, loyalty, trustworthiness. These are the pillars that support a rap career, especially in Atlanta's scene where realness is everything.
by systematically targeting each of these areas, by releasing information that made fans question whether anything about Young Thug was genuine. His opposition created doubt about everything he represented. It doesn't matter how talented he is, how good his music sounds, or how much potential he has for future success. When fans question whether an artist is authentic, when industry people question whether he can be trusted, when other artists question whether he's loyal, the career becomes exponentially more difficult. This also demonstrates how modern industry warfare has evolved. This wasn't a traditional rap beef with diss tracks and public statements. This was information warfare, strategic leaking of private conversations, calculated timing of revelations for maximum damage. It was psychological warfare designed to destroy credibility rather than just win arguments.
The people behind this understood that in today's social media environment, in today's hip-hop culture, reputation damage can be more devastating than any diss track. They understood that fans and industry people would draw their own conclusions from hearing these conversations, that they wouldn't need to make arguments because Young Thug's own words would make the arguments for them. And the timing was perfect. Young Thug has been dealing with jail phone calls and interrogation room audio finding their way online in recent days, and has broken his silence after several leaked phone calls from his time in jail caused controversy online. These leaks came in a moment when Young Thug was trying to rebuild his career, when he was working to move past the legal issues and refocus on music. Instead of being able to control his narrative and present himself as he wanted to be seen, he got blindsided by his own private conversations being made public.
The aftermath has been swift and brutal. Industry relationships have been damaged, fan perception has shifted, and Young Thug's reputation has taken hits that will be extremely difficult to recover from. Since being released following his YSL RICO case in Georgia, Young Thug has continuously thrown jabs at his former label mate Gunna over allegations that he cooperated with law enforcement to secure his freedom. But now he's the one facing questions about his own authenticity and behavior. The strategic destruction of Young Thug's career represents a new level of industry warfare, where private conversations become public weapons, where information becomes ammunition, and where reputation damage can be more devastating than any traditional form of competition. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of discretion, about being careful what you say on recorded lines, and about understanding that in today's digital environment, nothing stays private forever.
For Young Thug, the question now isn't whether he can make good music or whether he has talent. Those were never in doubt. The question is whether he can rebuild trust, whether he can restore credibility, and whether he can convince people that he's learned from these mistakes. That's a much harder battle than any rap beef, and it's one that will define the rest of his career. If you made it this far, you're clearly invested in seeing how these industry power plays unfold. Smash that subscribe button because, trust me, this is just the beginning of some wild industry warfare we're going to be covering. The most devastating aspect of this entire situation is that it's created permanent damage that goes beyond temporary controversy. When Drake faced ghostwriting allegations, when other artists have faced various scandals, there was often a path to redemption through great music or changed behavior. But the specific nature of these Young Thug revelations creates a different kind of problem.
The streaming manipulation allegations mean that every future chart success will be questioned. The trust violations mean that industry relationships will be harder to build and maintain. The hypocrisy around snitching allegations while being in a relationship with a detective's daughter creates a credibility problem that's difficult to address without either admitting hypocrisy or creating new relationship problems. These aren't issues that fade away with one great album or one successful comeback. They become permanent parts of the conversation around Young Thug's career. Every interview will include questions about authenticity. Every chart success will include speculation about manipulation. Every new relationship will include questions about loyalty and discretion. The strategic nature of how this information was released also suggests that this was planned and coordinated rather than random leaks. The timing, the specific content, the way each revelation built on previous ones, this wasn't accidental. Someone or some group decided that Young Thug needed to be taken down, and they executed that plan with surgical precision.
This level of strategic thinking represents a new evolution in hip-hop competition. Traditional beef involved music, public statements, and performance battles. This was character assassination, using an artist's own words, reputation destruction, using private conversations, and career sabotage through exposing hypocrisy and inconsistencies. For other artists, this serves as a warning about the importance of discretion, about being careful what you say on recorded lines, and about understanding that private conversations can become public weapons. In an industry where image and authenticity are crucial, where reputation can make or break careers, the stakes for maintaining credibility have never been higher. The Young Thug situation also highlights how quickly the narrative can shift in today's social media environment. One week, he was working on his comeback, focusing on music and trying to move past legal issues. The next week, he was dealing with multiple scandals, burned bridges, and questions about everything from his chart success to his loyalty, to his judgment.
Recovery from this level of reputational damage requires more than just good music. It requires rebuilding trust, demonstrating changed behavior, and convincing people that the person revealed in these leaked calls doesn't represent who he really is or who he's become. That's a psychological and social challenge that goes far beyond artistic ability. The industry will be watching to see how Young Thug responds, whether he can learn from these mistakes, and whether he can rebuild the credibility that these leaks destroyed. But regardless of his response, the damage has been done, and the questions raised by these revelations will follow him for the rest of his career. This represents one of the most comprehensive and strategic career assassination attempts in recent hip-hop history, executed with precision timing and devastating effectiveness. Whether Young Thug can overcome it remains to be seen, but the blueprint for this kind of reputational warfare has been established, and other artists should take note of how quickly and completely a career can be undermined when private conversations become public ammunition.
The message is clear. In today's environment, discretion isn't just advisable, it's essential for career survival. Young Thug learned that lesson the hard way, and his experience serves as a cautionary tale for everyone else in the industry about the importance of being mindful of what you say, who you trust, and how easily private moments can become public disasters. What do you think? Is this the end for Young Thug's career, or can he somehow bounce back from this level of reputational destruction? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe because the industry warfare is just getting started, and you don't want to miss what happens next.